di solito. Ciao Damiano, molto basso. Al punto che veramente non si capisce.
Francesca, tu ci senti da casa? Non mi senti?
Hello? We can hear you, but as before, the volume is really low.
Non si sente.
No, Francesca, non si sente. Non ti sentiamo. Però Giuseppe, tu mi senti, giusto?
Io ti sento benissimo.
Quindi tra di noi ci sentiamo. Che
Tra
siamo
di noi ci
collegati,
sentiamo.
però non riusciamo a sentire te, Francesca.
Sì, il problema è il PC in aula, ha il volume del microfono bassissimo.
Non so se Francesca hai delle cuffiette.
Ci sentite da casa? Siamo veramente in una situazione allucinante. Ci sentite da casa?
Sì, ora
Giulio.
Sì.
Questo è il mio professore.
Quindi questo è il nostro microfono.
E anche altoparlante.
Ok, va bene. Grazie.
Ok, ora molto meglio.
Ok, non so quanto durerà il mio telefono. Vabbè, risolviamo dopo questo problema. Ok, ricominciamo. Good morning, welcome to everyone again, and welcome to the virtual audience. So let's begin because we are also we are already late. And I remember you that you all speakers have 20 minutes for the presentation, but I asked you to only use it 5.
Abbiamo perso un'altra volta.
In evaluation at the Department of Architecture and Urban Studies of the Polytechnic of Milano, and her contribution is titled Multi-Criteria Decision Aiding for Adaptive Use of Cultural Heritage and Application in the City of Naples, Italy. So, Giulia, come and the floor is yours. Thank you. Basta solo fare così. È già in condivisione. Qual è il tuo? Questo qua, Adaptive Use. Questo? Questo è un PDF, non è un PowerPoint. Non c'è una cosa libera. Possiamo spostare questo da un'altra parte?
Come si fa qua? Come si fa a mettere in modalità presentazione?
Perché sono diversi.
Prova a fare qua. No.
No? Allora, no. Later. Solo qui? No, questo è di extension, no?
Com'è? Vede com'è? Control?
Control?
L.
Ma no, la tastiera è diversa.
Oppure i tre pallini da sopra in alto a destra, di progressi. No.
No, perché quello è del...
Ah no, e di questo non lo so. Lascialo così.
No, vabbè, lasciamo così. Si vede?
Provate con F11.
Diciamo che si vede.
Va bene.
Va bene, allora qua. Ok,
Passa di qua, Giulia, passa di qua.
So, good morning everyone. Thank you for your introduction. Today I'll illustrate you this study, multi-criteria decision aiding for adaptive use of cultural heritage and application of in the city of Naples in Italy, that I with Professor Marta Bottero of Politecnico of Turin. Frecce qui. Oh mamma. Okay, so the aim of the research is to explore the paradigm of the adaptive reuse, but focused on the unmovable cultural aspect. So we also explore and apply our proposed evaluation framework to the specific case study of the hospital building in Naples. According to the fact that the adaptive reuse concept is a multidimensional concept, as well as it contains several values of different stakeholder and perspectives, we developed and proposed an integrated relation framework composed by the stakeholder analysis, the SWOT analysis, and the Prometheus method in order to get the multidimensional perspective of the evaluation. Metto i tacchi per con la barra verde.
Ok, vado avanti.
Grazie. Ok, questo possiamo saltare, one outline. So, as I said you before, the adaptive reuse allow to adapt the cultural heritage asset in order to renovate them within the perspective of social dimension, environmental, and also economic. So, according to the fact that it integrates cultural, economic, environmental, social, and also aesthetic dimension, we have to face complex decision making. So, we should use multidimensional set of criteria also to engage different stakeholder perspective. Okay, so according to the literature review, the topic of adaptive reuse related to unmovable cultural heritage is still new and quite unexplored because it is also fragmented according to the proposed method. In fact, we analyze some mixed method, some preference measure model, and also the multi-criteria analysis.
I'm sorry, Giulia. Can you come here more near the? Okay.
Perché non posso star fermo in un posto, scusatemi. So our task is to propose an integrated evaluation approach that is based on the SWOT analysis in order to address all the characteristics of the intervention area, so both endogenous and exogenous elements. Then the stakeholder analysis in order to map all the subjects that are interested in, as well as understand their perspective and objectives. And then the last method is the Prometheus method, that is a multi-criteria technique that allow us to compare different alternatives according to the preference threshold. So we are able to define, okay, alternative A is preferred than alternative B according to different set of criteria. And the final result is given by an index of these, a ranking of the different strategies. Okay, so our application is related to evaluate and rank different scenarios developed for the renovation of the Polyclinic of Naples, that is located in the historical center of Naples. So this building is partially used for the university, okay, and the other part is complete abandoned, that affect in negative way the area according to social, environmental, and also economic part of view. So according to the fact that several scenarios have been proposed before this study, but they have not been selected because they have not a multidimensional perspective in order to address the problem, we proposed the SWOT analysis and the stakeholder analysis in order to develop a preliminary analysis to support the scenario definition, and then we evaluate them according to the Prometheus method. So the first technique that has been applied is the SWOT analysis that allows us to underline strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and the threats. So, for example, for the strengths, we notice that there are a high level of accessibility of the project area. For what concerns the weakness, we can, for example, underline the degradation of infrastructure as well as the lack of essential service. For what concerns, on the other hand, the potentiality and the opportunity, we can consider the valorization of cultural elements located in the area. But for what concerns the threats, we can also consider that there is a really limited perspective of private investment in this project. On the other hand, for what concerns the stakeholder analysis, we implement the cycle methodology because it allows us to map the different stakeholders from the European community to the UNESCO, to the tourists, as well as citizens and students, according to their power, proximity, and urgency. So we identify this methodology as the best one because it allows us to estimate and to analyze how these different stakeholders are near to the project, so how they are interested in, as well as how they can affect this decision process. Then, according to this preliminary analysis, we developed the different scenarios. So, of course, the business as usual scenario, so the scenario 0 within no intervention, and then 3 different scenarios: community hub, student housing, and also the cultural park. So all these scenarios have been developed according to the evidence that we highlighted according to our preliminary analysis. So we identify a multidimensional list of indicators to evaluate and compare these scenarios according to environmental, urban, social, and economic dimension. In this case, we have more social indicators because we analyze and underline that this area is really neglected according to this dimension. So our proposal is to overcome these limits. Then we analyze and compare each other these different scenarios according to these indicators, and we also asked to experts to weight these criteria. We used the card method by CMOS because it is a use-friendly method, because it allows to rank the criteria according to their relative importance from the less important to the most important, as well as it also allow to differentiate this relative importance according to white cards in order to stress a lot this difference. So we asked to a multidimensional panel of experts to weight these criteria, an expert in restoration, a technical of municipality, the superintendents, as well as the city consider. This is the ranking of the expert in restoration, and this graph represents the different set of ways that experts have estimated. So we can consider that all of the experts indicates really important the criteria of mixity index. So in order to renovate this area according to different functions, as well as the importance related to the architectural intervention, but also a really important attention to the environmental part according to the balance between permeable surface and the territorial surface. So according to the fact that we got these ways, we are able to proceed with the Prometheus method, and so we got the multi-actors comparing ranking. So as we can notice, for the restoration expert, the technical of the municipality, and the technical of the superintendents, the community hub is the most preferred one, because this scenario has really good performance in a lot of the criteria applied. On the other hand, for the city consigliere, the archaeological park is the most preferred one because he preferred this characteristic of the scenario. But we are also able to develop the final ranking in order to identify which is the most preferable scenarios, and according to the combination of these evaluation, we can consider that the community hub is the most preferable one, according to the fact that it has a good performance. So our aim was to propose an integrated evaluation method to address the adaptive reuse paradigm in cultural heritage context. We propose this integrated approach with SWOT, stakeholder, and the Prometheus method, which allow us to engage different values and perspectives. So as well as it ensure also the management of multidimensionality and multi-values factor in the evaluation. On the other hand, we also have to underline some weaknesses and challenges to overcome in the future perspective. So in this case, the economic feasibility of the scenarios have not to be analyzed so in depth, but within an analytical process, so a rough analysis. So we have to develop it in depth within a cost benefit, as well as a great possibility for a future perspective is to integrate the paradigm of circular economy according also to the criteria and the paradigm of the new European Bauhaus. So thank you a lot for the presentation and also for the patience within these criticalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Giulia, for your presentation. And are there any questions from the audience? Sorry, Piera, you have to come here.
In the preliminary stakeholder analysis, have you create a hierarchy or scale of weight also for stakeholders?
No, for the stakeholders, they have the same importance. So we have listed them according to their objectives, perspective, as well as the scale of intervention. So, for example, European Commission works at European level, municipality at the local level. But we have not engaged this stakeholder in the weighting of the criteria, but the expert, because they are mainly related to the architectural intervention. This is why there is a technician of the municipality as well as the superintendent's technician. But we also consider the city councillor in order to engage also the perspective and the objective of tourists, citizens, and so on. So we consider some experts in order to weight the criteria, but we select them in order to consider in the evaluation the perspective of all the stakeholders we have identified. Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Other question? Okay. Sorry, can you come here?
Thank you, Giulia. I think that you centered really a fundamental topic for Naples, because in the center there are at least 5 abandoned hospitals. San Gennaro dei Poveri, that is in Rione Sanità, Santissima Annunziata, Gesù e Maria. There are really a lot of them. So I think that is really a good focus. What I was wondering is if you succeeded in adding some technological, typological, architectural indicators, because the limitation for an hospital is that you have corridor and then the walls, so the architecture and the construction is very limiting. So, and congratulations for.
Okay, so thank you for this question. So yes, we have not so focused in depth to the technical dimension, because according to the analysis, we mainly are related to the area, because we noticed that there is a really neglected area according to also social and environmental dimensions. So our scenarios for the moment are mainly related to overcome also the surrounding, according to also the regeneration paradigm. But of course, the technical aspect can be integrated within the other category of indicators. So we can add the technical also, because we have to explore more in depth the cost. So the technical and the cost are really connected. So this is why we cite as a future perspective to estimate the cost within a more precise way, because we have to face with the technical aspect. Yes. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yes. So this is the next phase. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there are any question from the virtual audience? If there aren't, we proceed with the second contribution. So I asked to Professor Marta Bottero to come here. The Professor Bottero is a full professor in planning evaluation at the Inter-University Department of Regional and Urban Studies and Planning of Politecnico of Torino. And the presentation is about participatory strategies for supporting decision making in cultural heritage adaptive reuse interventions. So let's see the presentation. Okay. Please our microphone.
Okay. Maybe you can. But otherwise, it's okay, eh? Slideshow. Slideshow. Vai.
Però puoi cambiare da solo.
Non credo. Proviamo. Okay, we try and then we'll see. Okay, so very good morning to all of you. I will present this contribution that is a joint work with other colleagues from Politecnico of Torino, Sebastiano Barbieri, Caterina Caprioli, Federico Dell'Anna, and Giulio Mondini. Okay. Okay, so just a very quick outline of the presentation. So I will try to investigate the aim of the research. I will go through a very quick background of the methodology that we applied in our application that consider a real-world cultural heritage located in the metropolitan area of the city of Turin. I will present the application that we developed of different participation method, discussing the result and drawing my conclusion and especially next step for the research. Okay, so as also Giulia D'Attola said before, the adaptive reuse of cultural heritage is a very complex process involving different dimensions and also different stakeholders. So for this reason, participation methods are very welcome for addressing this kind of decision problem because they allow to consider since the preliminary phase of the design of this reuse project, the opinion of the different actors involved. So in this case, we will present in this contribution a real-world application of different participatory methods. And according to the literature, there are a number of approaches available for doing this that range from very structured approaches such as questionnaire to more open-ended methods such as workshop of interview or focus group, from creative approaches such as storytelling to real ethnographic observation. So according to the nature of the different approach, the result can be very different and they can range from the inclusion of the perspective of the different stakeholders through real co-design procedure. In our case, we selected two among the available methods because we organize the participatory approach in our application into different stages. In a first stage, we apply the approach of the workshop and we organize a large workshop with the local inhabitants and the general territorial population in order to frame the analysis at the territorial context, collecting urgency, needs, and general value for the territorial areas. Where in a second phase, we apply a structured questionnaire in order to go in depth in the analysis of the special building under investigation, evaluating different function and different possible solution. Okay, so here is our case study. So we worked in the metropolitan area of the city of Turin, which is one of the most important city of our country, Italy, and is located in northern Italy, in particular in Piedmont region. So here you can have some picture of the villa. So the villa was born from the pre-existing remains of a castle, and in the 17th century was transformed into a very luxury and aristocratic villa in the area of Turin. More recently, let's say since 10 or 20 years ago, the villa was completely abandoned, and now the municipality is investigating new potential function for the reuse of the villa. And this is why the municipality asked to our Polytechnic of Turin to support this process for finding new solution and supporting the design phase. So we started from the assumption that due to the uniqueness and of the villa, the function and the approach for the project for the reuse of the good cannot satisfy only local needs, as the villa has to act as at a more territorial level, being a good of importance at a regional level. So in the light of this consideration, we focus the preliminary part of our analysis to a deep analysis of the territorial area in which the good is located, investigating the presence of services, tourist accommodation, infrastructure and facilities. So as you can see in this slide, we were particularly interested in seeing how the villa can be play a role in the territorial area, considering especially the accessibility to soft mobility by bike or in a walking area. Okay, from the point of view of the external accessibility, we considered that the villa can be quite easily accessed by car, whereas there are some criticalities from the point of view of the public transport accessibility, meaning buses and trains, and so this can be a very important point for our design process. Okay, of course, we complete our analysis at a territorial scale with a more detailed analysis at the building scale, and we worked with our colleague, expert in history of architecture and restoration, and they allow us to understand some conservation issues that have to be very urgently considered also in the reuse project, considering structural decay, for example, of the roof, vandalism situation, as a lot of finishes have been damaged and a lot of furnishing have been stolen in the years. We highlighted also a number of elements that have to be preserved in the reuse project, such as the stucco decoration, the library, and the banister of the shell staircase that maybe you have seen in the picture before. Okay, so according to the method that I tried to draft before, we organized two different episodes of participation. A first moment was a large workshop that we organized in the municipality of La Loggia, and we gathered there, thanks to the support of the mayor and the municipality, the inhabitants of both the municipality of La Loggia and the general territorial area. And we used this occasion in order to understand the general needs and urgency in a broader area, as I mentioned before. So we asked to the population three different questions. What is missing in the general territorial area? What would you like for the future in this area, and where? So the participants were organized according to different table of around 8 people, and we discussed with a coordinator belonging to the research team, and we discussed with them about this question. A second moment of participation was delivered through a questionnaire, detailed questionnaire, focusing on the specific function of the villa. We distributed the questionnaire both online and printed, and the questionnaire was organized according to the standard question for eliciting issue in this kind of decision problem. So our first part was related to evaluate the awareness level of the interview. A second part assessing qualitative, in a qualitative way, some proposed function, and a third part for collecting general socio-demographic information. So here you have the result. So in the first large workshop, we gathered 70 people. That is a quite interesting number due to the very small scale of the municipality, both resident and association and local owner of local business. So they delivered a lot of important idea and concerning according to their need of having in the area a multifunctional place for cultural events, educational activities, and social interaction. So this was the main idea coming from this large workshop. They provided also some suggestions related, for example, to the need of a public library, exhibition spaces, sport and wellness area, such as other kind of facilities. Okay, so we went in depth in this analysis through the result of the questionnaire. We collected also in this case a quite large number of reply, 126 respondents that are homogeneously distributed according to the age and also the educational level. So more sophisticated suggestion came from this questionnaire. For example, the idea of organizing local market in the garden of the villa, that is quite interesting due to the large spaces available, or the idea of having cafe or a restaurant with local products that could be accommodated in some very specific part of the area. Okay, so we still work on this, especially with colleagues in the field of urban project and restoration. But we think that the participatory approach that we had provided us and also to the municipality very important and interesting result, but above all increase the sense of being a community, having a unique good on which they have to take care. In any case, the very important suggestion will be under using for designing the restoration project, and so we will still working on this phase. Future perspective from the point of view specific of the evaluation discipline could be to use the result of the questionnaire that since now we analyze according to a very qualitative approach through a more, let's say, rigorous and sophisticated approach, such as, for example, the best worst scaling approach that allows us to elaborate in a numerical way the result of the questionnaire, providing numerical ranking about important destination to be considered in the reuse project. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Bottero. And are there any questions from the audience or from the virtual audience? Okay. We have a question from Piero.
This kind of data set related to the participator, and maybe you can enrich other future research, and maybe municipality could adopt, but inside this office also this data set is a request of municipality for you. Is this a request for you?
Okay, if I well understood the issue, we proposed to the municipality to organize a question. It was not their issue. Okay, they just wanted support in understanding future scenario for the villa and procedure and estimation of cost and a very general support. So our idea was to organize a participated approach and the use of a questionnaire, and they were very happy about this. They helped us in submitting the questionnaire. They also organized to have the questionnaire in the printed version of the local journal edition. So they were very happy, and they collected all the printed copies in the office of the mayor, and the population participated with enthusiasm and stimulus to this approach. So they were very happy about this. Yes, it was a nice experience.
Okay. Thank you so much. So let's proceed to the third contribution. If there is on the virtual audience the Professor Mazzeo, because he asked us to anticipate his contribution. Hello, hi.
Good morning.
Mazzeo, good morning. So the Professor Mazzeo, he is an associate professor at the Telematic University of Pegaso in the Faculty of Engineering and Computer Science. And he is presenting his contribution about the role of urban planning in building the circular urban model, the case of Naples. I can share the presentation, or even if you prefer, you can share for us, but I think it's preferable for us that I share the presentation.
Okay.
It's okay for you.
You see?
Yes, you see the screen. So
Ok.
no, non c'è. Proviamo questa. Non è questa.
No. Vediamo se ci
Sorry,
riusciamo.
1 minute. Oh, we don't have this presentation. No, non ce l'abbiamo. No, non ce l'abbiamo. Sorry, we don't have your presentation.
No,
here.
I must
Yes.
present from from Naples.
Yes. You can share the screen.
Yes. Allora, vediamo se ci riusciamo.
Le consiglio di condividere lo schermo per intero.
È
Di modo che dopo
sto
quando passa
facendo.
la... Ok.
Quello che sto facendo. Ok. Well, if you
Yes,
see.
if you can make the widescreen.
Okay. You see that the slide go on? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Giuseppe Mazzeo. I want to apologize for my request, but I live in Pozzuoli, and this morning the civil protection will do an inspection in my condominium for seismic events of Campi Flegrei, as you see. Well, I want to do two premises. The paper that I want to show you is a descriptive paper, is not quantitative or methodological. And the second premise is that I am an urban planning with a particular attention with the normative and historical evolution of the cities. The paper wants to define an approach of for the building of a relation among urban planning and the concept of circular economy. It is the last product of a series of works on the city of Naples, and explore how urban planning can approach to the question of evolution of the planning in the urban cities. The change of approach is very important. Now we can act in the cities with the reuse of urban spaces. Before, the previous one was based on an approach on urban expansion, and with less attention with the cities, with the builded cities. The relation among urban planning and circular urban model is a relation that we can study case by case. We can consider distinct methods for constructing the application of circular models to the urban planning. As a application of this consideration, we can use a part, an area of the city of Naples, the Central Eastern area, including parts of historical urban center and newer areas. Is an area in transformation with strong changes that interest this part of the city. The paper wants to determine if the transformation consider sustainability and circular economy principles in the urban planning applications, and if these transformations are compatible with existing urban structure. The paper use a research methodology that starts from a theoretical framework and literature review. It follows an historical comparative analysis, an analysis of a case study, quindi of area of Central Eastern of Naples, and the analysis of policy and planning documents. Theoretical basis, you are all experts on circular economy, and I am not an expert of circular economy, but I think that a definition could be interesting to insert in this paper. A circular economy as a production and consumption model involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, recycling of existing materials and products to extend their life and minimize the waste. As we can see, the concept of circular economy is closely linked to sustainability, but there are some differences. if we consider the cities, we consider that we have a structure that is increasingly implementing initiative to become a sustainable circular system. But the analysis that the application of this model is an analysis that interests urban structure, urban infrastructure, but social elements are in a second plan, second side. We can consider in the urban planning the use of strategic urban planning as an element, plan that plays a crucial role in translating circular economy into action of plans. When we consider the city, we must consider a transformation of the mode of the use of a city, of existing city. We can consider the movement of restoration of historical centers, a movement that gained the cultural significance in the 70s and 1970s after the damage of the Second World War and the following planning initiative of destroying the urban center of Italian cities. If we consider the transformation of the action of the urban cities from 1970, we can consider that there is a protection movement of historical artistic heritage that is developed and has product a series of laws that regulate the action in the urban cities, in particular of historical cities. The law 457 of 1978, the law 493 of 1993, and the first that introduced the restoration of urban areas, the second that introduced the urban renewal, with an expansion of a concept of renewal. Now we can talk about this aspect, and we talk of urban regeneration. There is not also a law, but the concept is deepened in a series of plans, in a series of regional normatives. If we consider the evolution, we consider an evolution that is an evolution from the building, a single building, to entire cities. When the regeneration is an element that interests the entire cities. The circular models in the urban transformation, how we can apply circular model in a urban transformation. We can consider that in an urban context, a circular economic model is a model that can maintain the value of a city's image, the quality of its physical system, the functionality of its systems. Regeneration processes and circular urban model we can consider that are strictly connected, and we can consider there are a series of key concepts that we can consider and include in the regenerating of building and urban areas. We can also think that if we can, an urban plan that considers circular model, we can apply in the urban plan a series of requirements, context-specific planning, the involvement of local communities, innovative technologies, the attention to green service are all elements that we can insert in the plan that are in a series of plan in action, in act, and that will be considered with more attention by urban planners. The Central Eastern area of Naples. The study area, qualitative study area, is an area of great interest for the cities of Naples. It is an area with strong economic relevance and ongoing transformation. It's an area that in the last century was witness of a series of events. The expansion of the cities as intervention after the cholera of 1884, the risanamento operation in the eastern area of the city, the messy development of residential and productive buildings after the Second World War, and more recently the building of Centro Direzionale and the rapid transit networks. The analysis that we done is analysis that consider the presence, the compresence in the area of urban development that are witness of different period of the evolution of the city of Naples. The orange area is the consolidated historical center of the city of Naples. The purple area is the addiction of risanamento at the end of 80 centuries. The sky blue area is the centro direzionale, the development of the second part of last century. In green, we can see the area of Central Station of Naples. The area is now under the attention of the General Urban Plan of Naples, that in 2001 has developed a strong protection of the historical center. This area then includes part of ancient city, and the more recent section still considered part of historical cities. It's characterized by the presence of a large number of monuments in the ancient city, and in that a series of public infrastructure in the modern part of the cities. The area is interested by a series of key interventions and projects. In this slide, we can show the area of the Central Station at Piazza Garibaldi. The redevelopment of Piazza Garibaldi was completed in 2015 and is the result of a series of operations. The retreat of the building of a Central Station, the building of a new Piazza Garibaldi with the project of Dominique Perrault architect, the redesign of the square, the construction of a new underground station of Metro Line 1. Near the station there is the project of the Napoli Garibaldi Porta Est, a new quarter that interests an area of property of Ferrovie dello Stato, a project of Zadid architects that interest a mixed-use function, reconnection with urban fabric, redevelopment of pedestrian cycling networks and high energy efficient solution. The redevelopment of Centro Direzionale, completed in 1995, it suffers from an inadequate maintenance and updated infrastructure. In the 2025, it was opened the station of Line 1 Metro, that can be considered an element to catalyze the regeneration of Centro Direzionale. In the east area, the former Warsaw fruit and vegetable market area with the project of Napoli a large multifunctional venue scheduled to open in 2026. Elements of discussion. We can consider that there is a close relationship between urban regeneration, redevelopment, and circular economic principles. Circular urban regeneration can create new economic opportunities, improve social inclusion, enhances quality of life. We can consider when we act with cooperation the challenges of gentrification, the process about the economic sustainability of a process for large segments of population. These are aspects that are less considered. The difficulty in changing habits and lifestyles, criticisms existing regarding top-down environmental policies. If we consider an operation that connect urban regeneration and circular economy, we can consider an operation that start from the bottom and go to the up with the continuous support by the citizens. And these operations are operations that can do results is they are financed with public resources. Conclusion, some open conclusion. We consider Naples as a city that in the quality of life rankings, in the a large number of quality life rankings, is in a low position. This indicates a state of crisis despite the improvement. And the use of new methodologies for the implementation of urban plans, it could be of great interest to change this situation. Future research plan will include developing evaluation criteria and frameworks to assess the compatibility of circular economy with urban regeneration strategies, and building a recommendation for circular urban planning based on best practice and policy recommendations. I have finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mazzeo. Are there any questions? But I know that the volume of the presentation of the Professor Mazzeo is very lower, so I understand that here was a little bit difficult to hear the presentation. But if there are any questions, I ask to you. If not, are there any from the virtual room? No. Okay, so I ask you.
Thank you. Good morning.
I have a question. I have a question. So,
Excuse me.
yes. In the successful transition toward a circular urban model, you mentioned some critical issues and requirements. For example, the involvement of local community. So I ask you, how the community can play a fundamental role in this transition to a urban circular model?
Well, I think that my volume is the maximum. I think that,
no.
excuse me.
We have only a phone to hear you, so for us it's a very...
Well, I think that in the building of urban plans in Naples, participation of the citizens, it was not present, if I can say in this way. There are a series of projects of involvement of population, but the building of a urban plan of 2001, of a series of local plans, if we consider the plans for the reconstruction after the earthquake of 1980, we can consider that these local plans was plants that was built in the university, was without any attention to the needs of population. In the last times, the new plans underlie the necessity of involvement of the population. But my impression is that in this moment it is a theoretical hypothesis. I don't know a real involvement of population. We can consider only a series of involvement only for a little intervention of single buildings. If we consider a series of intervention in the Quartieri Spagnoli, we can consider that in this situation, the population was interested by a discussion on the plane. But if we consider urban planning or local urban planning, this involvement is not present. And I, in this moment, don't know how we can do this type of operation. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Marcel.
Thank you, dear.
And we can proceed with the last presentation of this morning session. So I ask Giulio Cavana to come here. And Giulio is a research assistant at Politecnico of Torino. He obtained his master's degree in architecture at Polytechnic University of Turin, with the thesis project focuses on the energetic retrofit of a neighborhood in Turin. And he is presenting a contribution with Maria Rosaria Angrisano, Antonio Gravagnolo, Luigi Fusco Girardi, and Marta Bottero, and it is titled Adaptive Reuse of Religious Cultural Heritage, the case study of the Church Santissimo Nome di Gesù in Turin. Ti puoi prendere questo? Qual è?
Capo, la quarta.
Questo?
Sì. Questo lo faccio io.
Vuoi sederti qua?
No.
Sì, così ti vedono.
È una bella visione. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. I'm gonna present you the first preliminary results of a PRIM project named 3. Oh, no. Oh. Okay. So TRIM project is a nationally funded project regarding the supporting the transition to ecological economy in Italian city regeneration through the circular model tool, reducing architecture and infrastructures. And basically it tried to develop, its goal is to develop a decision support system and the procedure and protocol for decision support system in order to assess the evaluation of adaptive reviews project of cultural heritage. The theoretical background of the project is based on the paradigm of circular economy. As we all know, circular economy is focused on the closure of resource use of the closure of the cycle of uses of resources. So it intends the project itself. It intends the abandoned cultural heritage as a possible resource that have to be further, that the lifespan of it have to be further prolonged in order to have to bring some further benefit to the sake of the community. In particular, the The PRIM project is based on a cultural-led approach, meaning that it sees the culture as a glue of the community, and the community, it intends the community as seeing itself as represented by its value, its cultural values, and so therefore operating on the cultural heritage could be an entry point to unlock the circular economy framework at the urban scale. The main objective of the project is to demonstrate then the convenience of reusing a historical heritage in the context of circular model, to develop and validate an operational tool to support decision making in the context of adaptive reuse, and to experiment with some methodologies shared with the community that produce the culture and the values, and recognizing itself in the values of the cultural heritage itself. The main final goal would be then to try to integrate different evaluation model, both quantitative coming from the realms of the circular economy and the decision support system, with more qualitative approach that try to understand the impact that the adaptive reuse of cultural heritage could have on the community. Especially we will built on the already well-known community impact evaluation approach and the heritage impact assessment, both mostly qualitative method. The project itself, it focuses on three main typology, let's say, of cultural heritage: port area, historic city center, and religious building. For this presentation, I'm gonna focus specifically on the religious building. Look, the specific case study will be located in Moncalieri in Torino. Why the religious cultural heritage? Basically, cultural heritage represent a huge part of the built cultural heritage across Europe, with more than 500,000 religious structures among churches, chapels, synagogues, mosques, and so on. And with the progressive process of secularization of the society, a vast part of this cultural heritage is characterized by a non-use and thus a degradation due to lack of maintenance. One of the most proposed function to reactivate the possible use of cultural heritage, especially in city centers, in the old cities, is the touristic one, with several outcomes that most of it several times don't meet the expectation of the project itself. This has been considered like a sort of consumerism of the cultural heritage itself, with the risk of not achieving the goals and the benefit that the adaptive reviews of cultural heritage could have been seen as capable of bringing. For this reason, there is a growing need to identify uses that could be considered as congruent with the intrinsic value of religious cultural heritage, and especially with the value of the society that recognizes itself in the cultural heritage itself. Jumping to the case study, as I mentioned before, the case study is the Chiesa del Santissimo Nome di Gesù, so Church of the Holy Name of Jesus in Moncalieri, Turin, in the northern part of Italy. And this research is specifically addressing some. Sorry for that; was not meant to be seen. This is a preliminary analysis of the case study itself. So we started with a demographic analysis of the surrounding of the city center. Of the city center surrounding the asset, with some indicator based on the index of the percentage of unemployed population in the city center, that is quite high, also due to further decrease in the use of some public buildings and public assets that have also deteriorated furthermore the economic and the social environment of the context of the city center itself, and some other social demographic indicators such as the old age index that shows that roughly 1.5% inhabitant over the age of 65 years over the age of 65 for each inhabitant of the city. So quite a high, quite a old population in the area. These are two more index related to the structural socio-demographic structure of the population. We can see the average old dependency, so the number of inhabitant over the age of 65 for each inhabitant in the working age, so between 15 and 65, and the structural dependency, so the number of people outside of the working age per inhabitant in the working age. Coming to the asset itself, the Chiesa del Santissimo Nome del Gesù is a church built in the 18th century over a pre-existence of another church by the diocese, and it has been abandoned since 1950 due to the underused, the stop of the celebration of Mass inside the building itself. It's characterized also by a quite interesting decorative apparatus in the interior space of the building that, due to lack of maintenance or after the abandonment, is starting to show deep signs of degradation. The final goal, or the asset itself, has been considered as possible. Several the owner has considered several possibilities of reusing the building without having a precise understanding of their own goal. We can see that there are no alternatives provided by the owner regarding the reuse of the building. Several uncertainties related to the potential use due to the ancient, the historical consistency of the building itself, and due also to the focus of the property of the owner towards the community and towards the social aspect of the community. There is a desire of the owner to meet the desire and the well-being, and to provide further benefit to the well-being of the society, of the community itself. For this reason, so for the absence of a clear understanding of the project of the problem by the owner itself, we can consider this as a ill-constructed or an unstructured problem. And in the domain of decision support system, we usually can define we usually need some preliminary analysis of the problem situation itself, in order to better structure and better define the problem situation in which we find ourselves. For this reason, we, as we can see from the pretty famous schematization of the decision problem supporting by Belton and Stewart. So we are focusing on the first preliminary phase, that is the problem structuring phase of the decision problem. Among the different possible tools and methods that are usually used in the problem structuring phase, we selected the SWOT due to its quite user-friendly process of development. And basically, SWOT analysis helps to structure the problem situation into 4 different quadrants. It basically map the problem situation in 4 categories, divided into helpful and harmful, and external and internal. And the acronym of the tool itself determines the different type of the categories of the element of the project problem itself. And they are divided in the well-known categories of strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. For the actual, as we can see, SWOT analysis could be conducted both in a desk modality and in a participatory one, and we tried to apply the collaborative path. So let's say, in order to structure the problem, we conducted one collaborative workshop with several experts in different disciplines, contacting 12 experts in different sectors, especially urban planning, history of architecture expert, and urban economics, but also some representative of the third sector of the city itself, in order to understand what could have been the a better structuring of the problem situation to further proceed with the analysis of the case study. In particular, during the workshop, the different experts were able to discuss and to negotiate among themselves regarding each possible element of the problem situation, in order also to reach a consensus between them among regarding the different elements of the problem itself. These are some preliminary results of the mapping of the problem situation itself. So, starting from the physical consistency of the building, we were able to, the expert identified several strength aspects related to the basically the physical consistency of the building. So a large space that could be used for the refunctionalization of the building itself, with some limitation due to the structure of the asset itself, limiting the possibility to insert a mix of function. While also the possibility of trying to envision some possible uses compatible with just a securing of the space without undergoing major retrofit or major refurbishment of the building, so with the limitation of the costs. On the other hand, still regarding the physical consistency of the building, a high level of degradation have been highlighted, with the risk of envisioning function that could add on this degradation path, and so with the risk of including function that would further increase this degradation. But on the other hand, a good aspect of this physical consistency is the recent restoration of the dome. So regarding the insertion of the building in the geographical context of the city center, the search is quite in a strategic position, because it's is located in the city center of the city, with the possibility of some synergies between different association of the city, and the possibility of the creation of partnership with the association and surrounding activities. Finally, regarding the final strength, the final opportunity given by the asset itself is, and here we go more in depth in the social aspect, is to use the building as as an entry point for the collaboration with the with the municipality and with the other tools that the municipality has adopted for the communal use of common space or common space, with some other risk of using the building for empty function, implementing empty function, and so with the touristic or the risk of not being able to unlock the potentiality of generating further benefit to for the community itself. In conclusion, we can say that the application of the SWOT, and those are, of course, really preliminary conclusion. They are not quite conclusion, let's say. Using the SWOT methodology was useful to understand four space of uncertainty related to the problem situation, ranging from the social demographic context, the possibility to establish partnership with stakeholders and actors, again, thanks to different legal framework that they are recently being adopted by the municipality, the further investigation of the physical consistency of the building and the compatibility of the function that could be implemented with the building, and again with this physical consistency. The next step of the research will try to engage with stakeholders, analyzing the stakeholder and engaging with them in order to further progress with the co-creation of the alternative scenario to be constructed, and then to define on top of them an integrated evaluation framework, also experimenting with system dynamics methods in order to bridge the quantitative analysis with the qualitative in order to understand the possible impact that such reuse scenario could have on the community itself. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Giulio, for your interesting presentation. And I ask if there are questions from the room. If not, from the virtual one. Are there any questions there? Okay, I have a question. In your contribution, you highlight the crucial role of the community engagement and the design process to take into account the identity value of a cultural asset. And but I was wondering that how can the adaptive reuse strategy of a religious cultural heritage can allow new cultural awareness between the communities. For example, some of people probably even don't know the existence of some religious abandoned or maybe underused cultural heritage. So in which ways the the adaptive reuse strategies could help the community to implement to increase the awareness and the consciousness about the cultural asset?
Well, in my opinion, the discussion of the adaptive reuse itself would be already a way in order to highlight, not to highlight, but to in order to let's say raise the problem, and so to raise the awareness per se. And the fact that the co-generation of alternative and the co-evaluation of the alternative could also be a way to for the interaction between those strata of the population not aware of some, or basically not giving specific value, because values are how to say subjective. So we're not saying that we have to give values to people. It's like just the co-creation and the co-evaluation strategies and methods that could be put in place to evaluate and to create the different alternative scenario could be a way per se to start the discussion among those that are not aware or that are not giving value to the cultural asset with those on the other hand that value the cultural asset, or for some not historical, while some personal historical aspects, they are more interested or more attached to the asset itself. So in this way, it could further generate some community glue among the community.
Thank you so much, Giulio.
Thank you.
And I apologize before I say that the contribution of Giulio was the last one of the morning session. Sorry, Maria. We have your presentation now. That is the last one. So I introduce you. Just a moment. Okay, here we are. So Maria Tartari is a postdoc researcher at ISPC CNR in economics of knowledge, communication, culture, and creative. Research investigates cultural-led social development strategies and the impacts of cultural practices in the public and digital space, focusing on cultural sociology. And she presents a contribution with Sabrina Pedrini on cultural and creative practices as drivers of circular economy and 9R framework perspective. So Maria, I see that you are already sharing the screen. So thank you very much, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Francesca, for your introduction. And yes, given that I'm the last one of this morning session, I'll try to be very short and sweet. So the first thing that I want to say is that this research is an ongoing one. So I will give you just some theoretical framework aspects of a broader research that we are carrying on with Professor Pierluigi Sacco about the relation between culture in general in all its aspects, so from the most practical results of artistic practices to cultural participation in general, and behavioral and systemic change. Why do I want to say that? Because as also Professor Giuseppe Mazzeo was saying, participation is such a hard thing to implement, and in particular, participatory one, not a passive one, is a very hard element to be put in place. And also to observe and measure a real behavioral change, it takes a lot of years, it takes a longitudinal studies. So this is why we are, I think, and in general, the literature confirmed this at the very beginning of, let's say, this perspective in which we can really say that sustainability, let's say, put in place through cultural actions can be effectively in terms of behavioral change. Otherwise, however, we started from the urgent need to support this required transition from a linear production consumption model to a circular economic one. The most solid framework in the circular economic literature that we have identified is the 9R1, which is an expanded version of the classic 3Rs, and it's a conceptual tool that is structured on 9 pillars, which are refuse, rethink, reduce, reuse, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, repurpose, and recycle. What we have observed through the literature review that we have carried out is that the circular economic research increasingly effectively incorporates environmental and economic dimension, but often overlooks completely the cultural factors. In particular, how values, how habits, how symbols, how meanings shape the consumption practices and the production patterns. So we decided to try to fill these gaps and to highlight the potential of cultural and creative sectors to support this transition toward circular economy by doing what? By encouraging behavioral change, through several ways, sectors, practices, by embedding sustainability into everyday life through cultural participation. And in my perspective, this is the hardest part, and offering experiential and emotional alternatives to the typical material consumption. So this paper, which, as I said, is at the beginning level, let's say at a mere theoretical level, aims to investigate how cultural and creative practices can support this transition by operationalizing this 9R framework. It seeks to uncover the potential of cultural capital, of artistic production, and of creative industries to promote this behavioral and systematic change, at least, aligned with the circular principles. Let's say that circular economy business models often revolve around two primary behavioral approaches. Those that, on one hand, promote reuse and extend the product life through repair, manufacturing, retrofitting, and so on. And those that transforms all goods into new resources. But what we have observed and what is precious in this argument is that at the heart of these models are people of all ages, people of all skill levels who play a central role. In these processes, ownership transit into stewardship, where consumers become both users and creators. So fundamental elements of the circular economy, such as reparability, durability, reuse, upgradability, are driven by effectively behavioral changes that individuals embrace as new paradigms. And in this context, we can find room to define our conceptual framework that explores the intersection of culture and circular economy. Even when what we have observed is that even when circular economic solutions are technically feasible, their implementation is frequently hindered by economic and market constraints. Economic discussion typically emphasize hard innovation, while soft innovation, which is the one related to cultural and organizational artifacts, such as symbols, conventions, plays a more significant role than the traditionally acknowledged. But consumers' habits and business routines evolve slowly. So this is why soft innovation seems at the beginning inefficient. Behavioral inertia is a significant challenge. However, we can say that social trends, including a heightened sensibility to environmental concerns, shifting consumer preferences toward service-based models, and business that recognizes the reputational advantages of being a part of the circular economy are fostering new routines that act as social drivers, a first, let's say, social driver for this circular economy. in some cases, let's say that circular business models fail to align with consumers' personal values or material interest. But unlike the linear economy, where the consumers play a passive role in the circular economy, it is necessary to have an active consumer participation because resistant to circular economy adoption delays in its transition as various psychological and cultural cognitive biases obstruct its implementation. So within this framework, several researchers such as Singh and Jacosa, 6 years ago more or less is the analyzed consumer experiences with circular business models, highlighting psychological, social, and cultural barriers that hinder their diffusion. So, addressing these barriers that they underlined requires a comprehensive approach that integrates both economic and technological and also cultural and behavioral perspective to foster a sustainable circular economy. Circular economic behavior is a complex process that, as we have seen, encompasses not only instrumental aspects, but also non-instrumental ones, such as values, identity, emotional and symbolic processes. And these dimensions can be supported through positional and relational consumption. So in terms of material consumption, the accumulation of objects triggers mechanism of, it is called positional competition and relative unhappiness. But the values of the goods that we possess is often not intrinsic, but it is relational, depending on our social context, on the comparison with other people, other peers, on our aspiration. On the other hand, the relational goods, such as the experiences, and the experiences are the typical of cultural consumption and cultural participation, when are lost from those who tried it effectively, create a great void that cannot be filled with material possession. So that's why a consumption model centered on experiential goods, on culture, basically, offers enduring value once the initial access costs are surpassed, providing a continuous nourishment to the consumer. So the process of identity building based on the experiences does not trigger competitive social positioning, but fosters personal growth based on relationality, shared interests, values, and cooperative mechanism. And culture in this context plays a crucial role because makes space for this relationship, for this inner life, care, and participation. And doing so, culture creates the perfect condition for building meaningful horizon for of a meaningful life in which pro-environmental behaviors find space. Also, the goals outlined by the Agenda 2030 provide an innovative and universal framework for sustainable development, and achieving responsible consumption partners will require citizens who are aware of these dynamics of wealth accumulation and that are equipped with the cognitive tools that foster critical thinking. And such awareness enables individuals to engage with common goods, for example, given that we are talking about the reuse of architectural abandoned places, of common goods in new ways, no? Promoting values like solidarity, like a sense of limitation and fragility, sense of community, and respect of the differences. And these values are essential to
Sorry,
shift the
Maria.
logic. See?
I'm sorry if I interrupt you, but we are running a little
Oh, sorry.
out of our schedule, so I must to ask you to a little speed up.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah. I'll
believe
speed up. I'll speed up. What I
yes,
wanted
just
to
a
show
little.
you is, yes, I'm sorry for that.
Thank you very
We
much.
just collected several literature sources that lie at the base of our claims in order to give a strength, a solid base to what we are claiming. And also we tried to collect several case studies that try to tell us how in practice cultural and creative sector can support pro-environmental behavior and consumption. What we have done is to try to clusterize several case studies in the cultural and creative sector within the 9R, finding a nexus per each R. And I wanted to give you just some examples, but I think that if you are interested in reading them, you can find them directly in the text that we have published. We also are thinking about some policy implication, but the most important one is to making policymakers realize that is there a need for cultural indicators within the circular economic evaluation. And thank you for giving me this space for presenting the paper. And if you all want to contribute to this research and also with the case studies that you presented, we are super happy to collaborate.
Okay, Maria, thank you very much. We can do an applause. Yes, thank you. There are any questions from the room or from the virtual one? No? Okay. I have a question for you, Maria. And you underline the needs for cultural indicators in the construction of your evaluation framework. So I asked you what kind of qualitative metrics and criteria we can consider in the construction of this evaluation field.
So Francesca, thank you for the question, because there are many indicators that are actually used and proposed, and in the last, in particular in the last 10 years, through that have been elaborated through European consortiums and research centers. But I think that to give you just some dimensions that are the most important to be introduced in an evaluation, in an evaluative perspective, I would say the dimension of the behavioral shift, the dimension of the value reorientation of the consumers, and the quality and not the quantity of the engagement levels.
Okay. Thank you very much, Maria. And I think it's all. We conclude our session. So I really thanks all the speakers for their interesting contribution. And we can do a break, so we can see after, if you want. We are here for the second session of the day. So really thank you to all.
Francesca?
Sì?
Un secondo, la tua email Unina è ancora attiva?
Sì, però posso darti Gmail.
Magari, così ti mando il link per la valutazione dei paper.
Ok, va bene.
Grazie mille, se me la vuoi scrivere qua in chat.
Abbiamo una tastiera che funziona in turco, quindi...
Perfetto.
Lo facciamo, te la mando dopo dal computer. Penso
Sì,
di riuscire a
guarda,
trovare la tua mail.
Intanto ti metto il mio indirizzo in chat qua,
Sì,
così
se
almeno
magari
ce
me la
l'hai.
scrivi tu, me la riesco a copiare più facilmente io.
Esatto. A posto, te l'ho lasciata qua in chat.
Ok, mi faccio una foto. Grazie mille.
Grazie a te.
Noi quindi ci rivediamo dopo qui per l'altra sessione, ci sarai sempre
Sì,
tu, giusto?
sì,
Ok.
esatto. Una cosa sola, l'importante è se riesci a farli magari prima di stasera, perché poi c'è la cerimonia per i Best Paper Awards. Solo
Sì,
questo.
sì, va benissimo, va benissimo.
Grazie mille,
Grazie
a
mille.
dopo.
Doveva essere una cosa semplice.